All right, our next speaker is distinguished Toastmaster Paul Brunoforte. The reason Paul is speaking today is twofold. First, Liz Berry tried for several days to find someone to take her spot, and because she seemed to be in a bit of a panic, he told her he would speak if no one volunteered. Well, no one volunteered. However, minutes after Paul volunteered, Mary volunteered, so thank you, Mary. Secondly, next month, Paul will be facilitating an educational seminar for a group of executives that would like to improve their public speaking skills. So Paul is taking this opportunity to practice a small portion of the material he will be presenting. He selected the material for today's talk because some of it may be valuable for those of you that will pursue your distinguished Toastmaster and will be required to coach other clubs and even start new clubs. There's no magic pill that will turn a person into a great or even a good public speaker. It does take a commitment, and today Paul will talk about some of the obstacles that he has observed over the past 30 plus years that have prevented people from becoming great public speakers. Paul will be speaking from the Advanced Communication Series, speech number 1, the keynote address. The manual calls for a 15 to 20 minute speech, but in the interest of allowing for our table topics, Paul will speak for 8 to 10 minutes. The title of his speech is, It Starts With Your Attitude. Please welcome Paul Brunoforte.
Over the past 30 years, I have introduced Toastmasters to literally thousands of people. And although there's really no way for me to know how many people I've actually affected, I'm going to assume that it's somewhere between 0 and 10%, which is really okay for me. I have decided in my life that if I can change one life, that makes it worth it to me. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, as Cameron mentioned, I'm going to be facilitating a 1-hour educational seminar for an organization that Bruce is involved with. And since this is not the first time that I'm doing this, I know that when I go there, secretly, and maybe not so secret, people want to know what the trick is. I always find that people want the magic pill. What's the trick for being a great public speaker? As you know, there is no trick. Being a great public speaker takes certain skills. And before I get to some of those skills that you have to recognize that a lot of it begins with attitude. And Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar are some of my great mentors. And Zig Ziglar said that your attitude will determine your altitude in life, which I have found is really true. And when you talk about attitude, what we're really talking about is a positive mental attitude. And how you can incorporate this attitude works a lot like this. Zig Ziglar said, if you want to soar with the eagles, you have to be an eagle. And even if you're not an eagle, act like one. If you can act like an eagle, the old fake it till you make it, soon you will be an eagle. And a lot of that is applicable to public speaking. You have to feel a positive mental attitude. You have to go into the whole quest of being a great public speaker with a great positive mental attitude. Now, I've seen many, many people come and go through Toastmasters. Some come in and their knees are shaking and they're very nervous and they have a complete blank out. And then a couple of years later, I will see them do a number 10 speech that brings a tear to my eye. And so I've seen this excitement that happens in people's lives, which makes me excited. I've also seen numerous obstacles. And today, because of a lack of time that I really have, I'm going to cover 3 obstacles that I have seen very quickly. The first obstacle is apathy. There's a huge segment of our population that just doesn't care. And the reason they don't care is they don't know what they don't know. They don't understand why there would be any possible benefit to learning how to be a great communicator. They haven't seen any examples of it, they haven't been introduced to it, so they don't care. The second obstacle is people are lazy. People don't want to get out of their comfort zone. And lazy isn't necessarily bad. If a person is lazy, what's happened is they've been insulated in a comfort zone. They have a routine in their lives that they continue with, and in order to break out of that, they have to trade something off. Many of you here know this, that there is a trade-off. If you're going to work on being a better public speaker, something has to be sacrificed. And it could be something as simple as television. People have a routine. They come home from work, they change their clothes, and they get in front of the TV and they eat dinner. If you go to an evening meeting at Toastmasters, that's going to change. So what happens is people get so entrenched in their lives, so entrenched in their comfort zones, that it makes using any additional energy very difficult. The third one, and one that most people hear about, is fear. Now, one of my favorite people to listen to is Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins has identified the 6 human fears. And in no particular order, they are the fear of poverty, the fear of loss of love or never having love, the fear of serious illness, the fear of old age, the fear of death. And what do you think the 6th fear is?
Failure.
That's what people think. People think it's the fear of public speaking. And it's not. It's the fear of criticism. The fear of criticism is the umbrella under which public speaking sits. But the fear of criticism paralyzes people and prevents many people from doing what I'm doing right now, because now all eyes are on me. So the fear of criticism, which is not a natural fear. We're born with 2 fears. Fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. All the other fears we learn. And the fear of criticism, I believe, is a fear that we learn somewhere around 8 years old to 15. When you're teased relentlessly at school for anything. And what happens is people carry that fear of criticism all the way to the grave. So to break out of that, you have to start doing something differently. You have to start learning some different skills. So how do you start doing this? Number 1, a person must learn WIFM, that great radio station of What's in It for Me. In order for someone to get out of apathy, they have to find out what are the benefits. And sometimes it takes a little research on how being an effective communicator can change your life. Once a person understands how being an effective communicator can change their life, then they'll actually do something about it. Being lazy. Being lazy is just something that a person is adapted to. They've just gotten into a mode, a comfort zone. Learning how to get out of that comfort zone is something that a person can practice. And a lot of times I talk with people that I'm coaching, and they'll have a goal. And the first question I ask them when they have a goal is, well, why don't you have that already? And usually, I will get excuses that are equivalent to the dog ate my homework. Really lame excuses. Being lazy is a habit, and you can break that habit. And then, of course, getting through fear. The only way to get through the fear of public speaking is to throw yourself in that environment. I promote Toastmasters. I think Toastmasters is the best way to do it, as many of you here have learned. But also taking a class at a college is a very effective way. Taking a Dale Carnegie course or any of those seminars is a way to do it. What happens along the way is your attitude starts changing. You become more fearless. And when you become fearless, it has a ripple effect throughout the rest of your life. And I tell people, when you think of being a public speaker, don't just think about giving a speech to thousands of people. Think about going to a party. Think about business networking. Think about all the opportunities that you have to be with a group. And you'll see that there's so many opportunities for you to exercise that muscle. So ladies and gentlemen, think about the attitude that you have. Is it an attitude of growth? Is it an attitude of personal improvement? If it isn't, then you can just execute a plan. And a plan can start with finding a coach, finding a mentor. Find someone who can paint a picture of the future that you necessarily haven't been able to paint. Once you can see the future, once you can get a glimpse of where you could be, that's where you get the energy for change. Every single one of you have that opportunity. All you have to do is start with your attitude. Mr. Toastmaster.